At 40, when I gave birth to my boy, I couldn't walk for about 10 years. And my reality changed radically. At some point, after years and years and years of pain, and I surrendered completely for the first time. So I was on the floor in a position that created less pain for me. And that night, it was the first time that I surrendered all possibilities that I could fix myself, thinking, what is the rest of my life is going to be pain and inability to be and do what I wanted to be and do in my marriage and as a mother and as a woman. And that was a deep surrendering of the ego. I felt it. And in that vacuum, that it left space. And then something came in. That's what it felt like. At the end of it, I was not the same person.
Welcome to Linda's Corner, where we bring more hope, healing, and happiness to the world. My name is Linda Bjork, and today we're going to be talking about living with less stress and more authenticity. I'm delighted to welcome Isabelle Daikeler. Isabelle is a visionary holistic wellness expert, fitness and nutrition expert, and co-creator of Shakeology and several BODi programs. She works with Hollywood celebrities, rock stars, and Olympic athletes to help them align body, mind, and spirit. You can reach Isabelle at her website, authenticitystressless.com, and I'll include that link in the show notes. Welcome, Isabelle. I'm so glad that you could join with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the introduction. It makes me look really good.
You do look good because you are really good and you have earned it. And I would like to go back in time a little bit to when you were about 22 years old and you had a life-changing event that kind of changed the trajectory of where you decided to go and probably what you thought was important.
Yes, the 22-year-old, actually, a 22 years old event, looking back, is not a big deal. The one that was really a real sort of stale breaker was at 40 when I gave birth to my boy. But the 22-year-old event was when I had a car crash and I was told I was going to limp for the rest of my life. At that point, I was a track and field coach assistant. I was doing sports psychology, sport massage, active rehabilitation, and my identity was very much attached to my strength and my abilities on the physical level. And so that possibility of not being able to be that strong woman that I felt I was devastating and not okay. So it sort of took me off the beaten path because the rehabilitation systems that I was moving through were not really getting me back on my feet. So I had to dive deep into how to get that body back, that ability back. But through it, I think what I discovered was that my emotional and psychological state was crucial to moving back into being an active person. I think if my state was in fear, my ability to get back on my feet was limited. And I didn't realize how true that was until I went through it myself. So, cut back to giving birth to my boy. Now I'm 40. And at 40, when I gave birth to my boy, I couldn't walk for about 10 years, barely limping in the house. Yeah. And I think what I'm realizing now is that I had to let go completely of the kind of mother I thought I was going to be, or wife, meaning having my boy in my backpack and hiking and that kind of a woman, that kind of a mother. And instead, I was flat on my back, having to nurse my boy on the floor, needing a nanny. And my reality changed radically. That was also when I did my first real prayer. So God, or all that is, powers that be, nature at work, call it whatever you feel comfortable with, was lovely, a lovely concept. I had nothing against it. But if life was just what it is and I was to die tomorrow and that was my only life, that would be just fine as well. I still wanted to be a good person because it felt better to be good. And when I wasn't good, I didn't feel good at all. When I made decisions that were harming myself or others, it felt terrible. So to me, that was enough of a guideline to try to be better. But when that happened, I, at some point, after years and years and years of pain, so that was a decade of, so I lost like 20 pounds and I had no muscles left. And I was in chronic pain and acute pain. So both were going on all the time. So in a deep state of fear. And I surrendered completely for the first time. So I was on the floor in a position that created less pain for me. And that night, it was the first time that I surrendered all possibilities that I could fix myself. So completely lost, thinking, what is the rest of my life is going to be pain and inability to be and do what I wanted to be and do in my marriage and as a mother and as a woman. Um, and that was a deep surrendering of the ego. I felt it. And in that vacuum, that it left space. And then something came in. That's what it felt like. And my body, basically, if you can see my hands, my upper body and my lower body started shaking. And I was on my tailbone, elevated like this for 3 days and 3 nights. Seemed wild at the time, and somehow I still felt safe. I knew this was good for me. I look back now and it seems very normal. I realize that's basically somatic work. I don't know if you or your audience are aware of somatic work. It's really letting the body move and untangle itself from trauma and stressors. That's literally what was happening, but I was not in control. And if I was to think, you know, if I was to think, oh my God, I have to pee, it would stop. I would crawl to the bathroom, pee. On my way back, I would start shaking in the same place, same position. Went on and on like that. At the end of it, I was not the same person. I finally somehow, after 10 years of searching for expert to help me get back on my feet and figure out what was going on, which, I was considered an expert, couldn't help myself, couldn't find anybody to do it. After that event, I was guided to the right person. And I slowly, after 2, 3 years of rehabilitation, got back on my feet. In the meantime, my life changed radically. Healing work replaced body work, um, energy and emotions and state of minds replaced, like, you know, system of physical well-being that I was more focused on, but well-being was always my focus. So it just shifted radically. It was not a shift that I anticipated. It was not something I had dreamed for myself, but it changed how I view life. And in it's like what's the word in English? Not an income, but a flow of information was now available. And why I did what I did, my intent, my focus, what mattered, changed radically. And that was the bigger shift. But when you look at life, I don't know about you, but when you look at life, I think all the little mini steps in between everything we think are the big deal, the big changes. But if you look back carefully, it's all the little choices in between that really led to what you consciously view as the big moment. But they're all big moments. All these little moments are so important. That's something that's very real for me now. So I think it leads us to living more in the moment of caring and loving yourself enough that all the little choices needs to be in alignment, needs to be, you need to feel comfortable with your little choices, right? And you need to cultivate an awareness of what brings stress or discomfort in your body because your body doesn't lie. And I think that shaking It was decades of lying to myself. So it's like it turned me inside out. It's I was strong on the outside, but full of fear and weak in the inside. And by having to capitulate and let go of my physical strength, I had to go back internally and build inner strength. And I'm still on that path. It's not all done, but it really shifted my focus. Now I love the body and the experiences I've had with the body, with food, discipline, helping people love to move their bodies. That still serves me to this day, right? Nothing is a waste. It's just my focus is slightly different.
Wow. Isabelle, thank you for sharing your
You're
story.
welcome.
Oh my gosh. That was so huge and so amazing. And
Oh,
it's
please tell
okay.
me what is it that you felt was helpful to hear?
Okay. I think all of it was helpful to hear, but I'm going to go back in time just a little bit because we're talking about authenticity. We're
Yes,
often talking about our identity. It
yes,
is who I really am. And as you talked about your story and you said that at 22, so I'm going to put myself in your shoes or try to and say, okay, my identity, I'm an athlete. I, um, and I'm going to say I have value because of what I can do, because I
yes,
am fantastic at running. And now I have just had a terrible accident where my future might be that I cannot walk again.
yes,
So that has taken my identity, my foundation of who I am and why I have value, and put it in a place where I have no idea.
yeah,
Am I ever going to have value again? So, and I'm going to pause there for just a second. How absolutely earth shattering that is. Taking the rug and pulling it out from under you and saying, wow, what is my future? Who am I? And then you said, before you even talked about this part, that in the big picture now, from where you're looking at, that event was not a big deal.
mm-mm.
And that, in and of itself, is huge because you have moved past to where there's something else that is bigger, where that question of who am I? Do I have value? You've answered it. And that piece of the puzzle didn't even really matter. And yet, I bet at the time it mattered a lot.
Yes, it did.
So we're going to go forward. Okay, now you have an even bigger identity. With the birth of your son, was this the first and only child, or do you have other
Yes,
children? Okay.
I, after 10 years of coming back from the bird, the concept of trying again
No,
was
I don't
like,
blame you in any way, shape, or form. But I'm just trying to
yes,
put my
yes,
head around the identity. Okay,
yes, yes,
now I am not only an athlete, I am a wife, I am a mother. This is my identity, and this I have an idea of what that is going to look like. I am going to have my baby on my backpack. We're going to go
that's right.
hiking. We're going to go do things. I mean, this is going to be awesome.
Mm.
And everything was twisted and did not turn out the way that you anticipated.
It
And
got better.
it got better. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you are going to have to help me understand
Yeah,
how it got better. Because as we're working toward authenticity, all of these pieces of you matter. But it was not until you were able to kind of shake it off uh,
yeah,
and get into the inside and let go of fear and let go that you were able to be filled with something deeper and more meaningful. So I'm going to ask you a question, Isabelle. Who are you?
mm. Um, it's funny as you're asking. It's not really important who I think I am. And I don't think it's that important for others to hear what I think I am. I don't really ponder much about that myself. Um, Going back, I will answer your question, but I need to go more circular about it as opposed to linear. So, who am I is more, it's more what I'm not. It's more it's more the letting go and the stripping and the untangling of all the things that I thought I was. And that's why I said my shift went from more basic physical more and more to the energetics. Try to, as a human being, um, try to define energy, to really know what energy is. So my path and my discoveries and my experiences have led me to the energetics of what we are. Like we're finding out quantum physics now, that the reality of our physical experience is not real, that we actually are 99, I think, if I'm correct, 99.999, something very close to that number, space. We are mostly space. So if you think about it, if you're mostly space, would it make sense that breath and meditation and that which is untangible is a big part of what you are? So why dismiss that part of yourself when you're taking care of yourselves, which is what authenticity is all about, is stripping all the things that you identify yourself with, how you objectify. Listen, we are two women. I'm 58. Like we're being told it's not enough to be happy and strong and healthy. But to age well, you have to look 25 for the rest of your life. That's a deep objectification to this exterior of what I am as a woman. So the identification just shifts from this more ethereal, energetic space, place where many things are possible, which is why authenticity, the work that I do, is now has shifted to healing work. Because if you think about it, healing work is not so strange if you're 99.9% space. If you're field, right? If you're field after field after fields, which is what we're being told now, science is proving that, then yes, connecting, and you can't touch you feel, but you can feel you feel.
Wow. Okay, that was amazing because it was a hard question because we're not just using those superficial descriptions.
Yeah,
And when you get to I am, it's deeper. And as you were describing, I had a thought come to my mind as we're talking. Part of it, this is spiritual. This is energetic. This is deeper. And there is a story in the Bible about Moses who sees a burning bush, and when he speaks to the Lord in the bush, and he says, "Who are you?" His answer is, "I am.
that's
I
correct.
am that I am."
Yeah,
And it did not follow with any description. And usually when we say something, it might be, I am an athlete,
that's
or
right.
I am a woman. I am, and then we kind of describe it or define it or give some sort of an adjective. And here it is just being. When we do it right, when we feel that peace, and I think this part of the conversation matters because as we're talking about authenticity, and it really is our identity, who we really are. It is enough to be. I am. And because I am enough. And I think that that matters. And you described it so beautifully in trying to come to this place of being okay with being. It very much involves stripping away layers of our thoughts, of our beliefs, of our expectations, especially those that do not serve us. And it doesn't mean that I can't also say, well, I am a woman and I am a mother and I am a wife. I am doing those things. And that is an extension of who I am. It is what I do. It's not necessarily who I am. So thank you for helping us not only come to an understanding of who we are, but how we get to the place of accepting who we are. So thank you for that, Isabel. I appreciate that very much.
And well said. If I may add to this beautiful little monologue that I really enjoyed, thank you. Um, this is why there's certain things that people think hard on, and when you think of people saying "I am that," right? There's that meditation. I am that. I am that. If you think about that, you are fields more than you are a thing. You just fields. There is no boundaries between your field and my field. And there's no boundaries between the trees' field and the animals' field, and even the house and the table. Those fields merge. They intertwine. This is where I am that, I am that, I am that. Because the fields, you're not, you are all of it because the fields merge. And this is where the understanding of we are one becomes more clear. Yes, of course, because these fields are, there's no separation. And this is where the concept that we are one, therefore what we do upon each other has an impact on all of us because we are fields upon fields upon fields. So once that reality became very clear, all these very, what they call very religious or spiritual, mystical statements became very black and white. It was like, duh, of course, it makes so much sense. And so I think it brings a simplicity to all those things. And you read the Bible, you read mystical books or the Buddha's, way of living, and all of it starts to make so much sense because all of us have these fields and we intertwine and intermingle with each other. And yes, this is why people say we are a soul having a human journey. Because yes, we are also, in a way, very tangible. There is the body. The body is designed a certain way and you have to take care of it. And you are a mother and you are a father and you are a child and a sister and all that. So the multiplicity, the complexity, and the simplicity of these worlds merging and being who you are is an amazing ride. But if your mind is hijacking your field, if your mind is saying, yeah, that is not, that's nothing, you'll have a very different experience of life. But if you let the fields, which is the heart really, right? We know a lot about the heart now. That's more than just a pumping machine. um, if you let the heart be the leader and your brain simply be the person, the thing that enhance your ability to do and follow through with what the leader decided, the heart, you're in good shape. Then the ego is your friend. There's no battle. And that's the dance, right? That we're all playing and moving through and learning through mistakes, what we call mistakes. And that's why we stumble. And God knows I've been stumbling and smashing myself right into a wall and get up and learn and slowly get to a place where all these things are becoming very, very real in my life.
I love that. The description and the understanding of what is real. And it is what we see certainly appears real. And then when we're in this place of just accepting what we can see, there's a lot of confusing things. And I loved how you said, when I'm here in this place of accepting and understanding, all of a sudden it becomes simple. I
Yes.
think that matters because I imagine people who are listening are in their own various stages. And for some, they'll be saying, yes, obviously, I get this. And there will be others who will say, what on earth are you talking about? And then there will be people who are in between, where there is a little spark of, this is interesting. This feels right. This feels true. And yes, please.
Go ahead. No, I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, anyway, I was just going to say that my understanding is your belief of true healing has two parts. One is that we honor the authentic self, and two, that we build harmonious connections. And as you were speaking, I thought, oh, you are living what you're teaching here. This is real.
That is the intent. Yes. but I stumble and I smack myself on the wall just like everybody else. I was going to say it's funny that you said that because it leads me perfectly to a very, very simple example that might help people that say, oh, that makes no sense to me. Like if you have an interaction with someone and they say something that really hurts your feelings and your impulse is to smack them, right? The consequence of that could be they will go around and tell everybody what a mean person is and create maybe some little white lies, and their ego and their hurt will just create a reality that will definitely be problematic for you. You will have to deal with these consequences. If you can hear the things that hurt you a lot and you can pause and breathe, which centers you back into your heart, it's a field that doesn't want to slap someone. You don't have to do anything about that. If you take a quick pause and breathe, whatever impulse reaction that you had will slowly subside and you will respond differently. You may say, I obviously I've hurt your feelings for you to say that. I didn't mean to. I don't understand. Or you may say, yes, I did, and that was not okay. I apologize. Or you may say, I think there's a misunderstanding. Can we talk? So the response is very different than the reaction. And then that person may walk away now thinking, huh, I misunderstood her. She's nicer than I thought. And then she may have a conversation with someone else and say, oh, actually, she was quite lovely. I might have gotten that wrong. And then the energetics, the consequence of that interaction create a very different future. And so that's the reality of being in a field that is more calm and receptive, and there's space and time to have an intent to respond differently than smack. And this is how you create your future and you create your reality. This is why earlier when we started, I said, brings us right back to that. I said, I notice now that the big moments are not so big. All the little choices, all the little moments in between is really what leads me where I'm going. And they're just as important. That's kind of what I meant. So this is where you see that life has this feel, this energetic truth to it, the heart, what we say the heart response. It's that response that brings you to a place of peace. And the more you sit and reside there, it becomes your default. The more now you're changing your future, you're changing your reality, you're bringing your space to a place of identity that is different than it was. It's more focused on being peaceful than being right, than looking good, than feeling good. That's the beginning of the great change, where all the other things, you don't have to do anything, just fizzles away because your focus is there. The same way that I said in the accident, I learned that, I can focus my intent quite specifically. Here I am again. It's just a different focus, a different level of the same focus, I should say. But it's once this is where your focus is, and all the threats are not so threatening. And it doesn't even come into your reality, or it comes less and less and less. And there's a momentum to 20, 30, 40 years of a specific way of reacting. You need to be kind to yourself, and you need to give yourself time to now build a different current, a different momentum. But you can't lose.
That is so beautiful. And as we're talking about relationships, any kind of interaction, what a difference it makes when we respond rather than react.
Correct.
And those two words, they sound very similar, but they are very, very different. And that ability to take a breath and to just sit with maybe even discomfort for a minute and not to become offended, and then to respond with peace and compassion, it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
And if we had more of this in the world, wouldn't it be a beautiful place?
Yeah. And also, you can practice on social media, right? Social media is a strange thing. People say or type something that's offending you and you react. But you can practice. The very tool that can lead you astray can actually be a practice of like, is that really a threat? I don't think that's a threat. It's a thought. It's an opinion of a stranger that I may never meet, probably won't. Does it really affect me unless I decide to take it in and pretend that it just slapped me on the face, right? And so it could be practice for that shift of where you want your focus to be at. And again, do you want to spend an hour online being offended and angry and articulating and focusing your thoughts on how angry you are and how wrong they are? Or do you want to just practice, it's an opinion. I have an opinion. She has an opinion, or he has an opinion, and it's okay, right? So that very tool that can lead you astray can actually be a great tool. It's a meditation, really.
Wow, that's an excellent reminder. And as you talked about, basically what we perceive as a threat, because we often respond or react, I would say, defensively. We're trying to protect ourselves. And then if something is perceived as a threat, that means I need to defend myself. And if it is not perceived as a threat, I don't need to defend myself. I can
Correct.
just respond. I can keep moving forward. And if we have less perceived threats, then we don't have to live in fear. And that was
Yeah.
one of the things you mentioned at the very beginning, is that releasing of fear.
Yeah. And it keeps going. I'm nowhere near done. And as long as I live, I'll be releasing fear. But yes, I think it's the crux of all the other emotions piled up on top of it. And I was very much a creature of fear. And so, sitting, and people call it confronting, but it's very much, it's more sitting in the discomfort of fear. And of course, I'm generalizing. There's a reason why fear exists and threat have existed. And if there's something that is literally threatening, there's a reason why there's a reaction. You need to not think and react and take off, run, or protect, or whatever, right? So all these things have a place in our lives, of course, but most of us are fighting imaginary monsters that are not there, concepts floating around that we feel are attacking us. And then some of the concepts most of the concepts really are internal concepts that, you build to survive or to live through your environment of other individuals who've done the same. So nobody's at fault, but it's a learned behavior. And at some point, it's time to decide, I'll be strong enough and care enough about this life to learn to sit in the discomfort and realize that you can easily move through it. It's uncomfortable and it scares you, and all these things. It can make you cry and all these emotions of insecurities, but really, you can just breathe and let it pass. If you don't let the emotions be hijacked by your mind, by these concepts, right? So you have an emotion, and the mind tells you why and who did it, and it's not your fault. And if I only didn't and had and didn't have, and all that, and that recycles the emotion, recycle the emotions in that body of yours, and it goes on and on. But if you say to the thoughts, not now, not now, and you go back, this is why meditation on breath is so crucial. You go back to perhaps very focused on the feelings and where you feel those feelings in your body. Is it your sternum? Is it your shoulder? Is it your heart? Are you shaking? Is it just a torrent of tears? Is it screaming? If you really just allow that to process itself, the body is designed to feel. It's not scared of feeling. It's the mind that wants to do something with it, wants to fix it, wants to tell you why it's wrong. If you can, for even 5 seconds, say not now, you've gained so much. It doesn't have to be 5 hours. 5 seconds, 2 breaths. 2 minutes of sitting with a discomfort and allowing it. That's what I meant when I said I was shaking and I felt this release. It was just as emotional as physical. And then there was space for something else. It's just something else and not come from the outside. It was in me all along. It's what I am. These fields of energy are constantly there. You don't have to seek and search to get to it. It is here. It is that which allows you to live this life in this body. So sitting and allowing the fields to take care of it is very effective. And what happens is instead of, um, circulating over and over again, rinse and repeat, and then you can be miserable for 3 years, it just moves. You feel it's intense. You think it'll never end, but it does. And when it ends, you feel better because you didn't do something about it. You allowed the alchemy, the wisdom in the body to alchemize and clear. And then there's space for these fields to be stronger and more alive in you. And that gives you like a trampoline. Over time, it gives you like a hammock where life continues to bring challenges. It doesn't stop, but somehow you have a place to land. You feel like you have a hammock or a pool. There's something deep inside of you that allows you to know, not to believe, not to have faith, but to know that you can move through this and to trust and know that something good will come out of it. And that's at least has been my experiences. And I, by no means, I'm an expert at it. I'm not, the best at it. I've just had my own human experiences and it led me to now that's my practice. That's what I know is for my greater good. That's what will make me a better person. I will be better with others. Well, that's what I meant by earlier when I said it made me better as a mother, because now I was more connected to my multidimensionality, which is those fields of energy. So I was interacting with my son in a very different way. I would not have been the same kind of mother. And thank God, literally, that it happened, because the connection that I build and what I've learned and how I've grown through and with my son is incredible. And I would give up, those hikes in a heartbeat, knowing that this would be the outcome. Um, so it can really radically enhance the quality of your life.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Is there anything else that you want to make sure that we cover before we leave
No,
today?
you did so good.
Oh, thank you. That was lovely. And if we apply this, it will change our experience. And
One
thank you
breath at a
so much.
time.
Yes, those small things.
Yes.
Thank you for visiting with me today, Isabel.
Thank you for having me.
In closing, I'd like to share a quote by Oprah Winfrey. She said, "What we're all striving for is authenticity, a spirit to spirit connection."
Hmm.
Today, I invite our listeners to actively seek for that authentic spirit to spirit connection. See you next time on Linda's Corner. Thanks for tuning in to Linda's Corner podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends to help us inspire even more listeners. Be sure to visit hopeforhealingfoundation.org for free and affordable resources to help you overcome life's challenges. And explore healingbreathworkdetox.com, where you'll find transformative tools for deep inner healing and lasting change. Also, don't forget to check out my books, Crushed, A Journey Through Depression, and You Got This, an action plan to calm fear, anxiety, worry, and stress. Your journey to hope, healing, and happiness starts here.